being here. I'm Scott Cochrane. I'm the president of Cochrane Supply and Engineering. We're a building automation distributor, and we sell software and hardware from many different BAS manufacturers across North America. And as a part of this program, I thought it'd be fitting for me to host the panel of some of the best BAS manufacturers in the industry we have with us today. And we also have some of their leaders, which is really exciting to get some leaders in front of you folks. And I'm here to try and stump them. No, I'm kidding. No, we're going to talk about both some of the directions that they're headed, the trends, what they're seeing. We're going to talk about some of their products without giving away their secrets, but what they're working on. And we're going to talk about the community and how it's changing and things like that. So we've got a great program ahead. So first, I'd like to introduce my panelists. I'll start with Bill Schwebel. Bill, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, Bill Schwebel. Is this mic working like this?
It is.
Yes.
Get it closer to you.
You want it closer, so we'll share. We'll share all the time. Bill Schwebel, I lead Building Automation Systems and Controls Group for Johnson Controls. It's one of 5 product business units focused on buildings and building technology at Johnson Controls. And our focus is really on the building automation systems and the control systems for equipment.
Thank you, Bill.
2 mics.
And next to him, Manish.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manish Sharma, and I am a Chief Product Officer for Connected Building working for Honeywell. Looking forward to a great discussion.
Thank you. And Martin.
Hello everyone, I'm Martin Villeneuve. I'm the president of Distech Controls. Been in this industry since I was born, I guess, working for a system integrator and then making my way up the chain inside of Distech Controls, and proudly here today, hopefully telling you a little bit more what we do in our business and in our industry.
Thank you. Can we skip Ken real quick? Go down to the end.
Come on.
You get your intro time.
Yeah, Ed Merwin with Tridium, title Director of Strategic Business, but I just take care of customers. I'll show you what I consider my role to be. 23 years now with Tridium and 25 years with Honeywell before that.
So add that up in your head. I like the way you broke that up.
Easy to swallow.
And of course, I had to put Ken on the panel. Ken?
Okay, Ken Sinclair, the sketchy guy up there. And yeah, I've been over 50 years in the industry, and we're trying to retire automated buildings, and we've been at that for 25. So I would like my daughter to stand up, Carrie Sinclair in the front here. And Carrie is starting to land on her, and so she's here trying to figure out the industry, and I figured she should be able to do it in 2 or 3 days. How hard could it be?
That's right. And Carrie, have you learned quite a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an adventure, so. Okay, well, let's get going with our panel, shall we? So as we know, the BAS industry has shifted recent years. Some of the shifts, we've moved from, I'll say, a serial type of network technology in the products that we're using to an IP type of network, right? So the controllers are moving from basically telephone wire to the stuff you plug your computers into, right? And with that, things are changing for the manufacturers. The products are changing, the capabilities are changing, and the industry, like the architectures, how we put buildings together now for BAS, are completely changing at the same time. So my first question to the group, and I'll just start with Bill because he's next to me. Bill, how are these, what we call like these OT networks, or the movement from serial to IP, how is that changing the products that you guys are building and some of the services?
Yeah, so we've definitely seen an acceleration. We've had digital controllers and IP-based systems for quite a while in the industry. But really recently, as a matter of fact, since the pandemic, we've really seen the power of that digital transformation and the power of the software and the power of the cloud connectivity. And it's really changing the architecture, changing the way these buildings are built out and the way the buildings are controlled. So an example is using software in the installation process and doing that, being able to do that remotely. being able to remotely monitor and service the building, even down to the specifics around how we manage equipment, how we deal with optimization on the water side or the air side, how we do vibration analysis and some of the things that all of a sudden become available. And we're on that rapid rise of digital transformation where in 5 years we won't recognize the systems that we were deploying 10 years ago.
Yeah, and Bill, how fast, from a Johnson Controls standpoint, do you see like today, obviously you offer products that are both serial and IP. Like, I mean, and we won't hold you to it, and we know you're not going to tell us product life cycles in this, but just how much longer do you think, do you think serial will really be around for Johnson?
There is a lot of equipment that's embedded with serial electromechanical systems, and it's really hard to transform that equipment. The equipment life cycles are extremely long. There's a lot of people that are trained in that mechanism. So if you think of the millions of pieces of equipment and the millions of points in buildings that all need to be maintained by millions of technicians and whatnot, that's a lot of stuff to change. So, and we're supporting that, backward compatibility. That's one of the things that Johnson Controls is very focused on, ensuring we don't abandon that. But that transition is happening very quickly, and we're seeing a lot more demand where we're gonna start to see that everything new will be digital, and that's going to happen fairly quickly.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Manish. Over to you. Question for you for Honeywell, right?
Yep.
Again, on the OT networks, the controllers. Could you speak to the importance of now the software that's going in these controllers and some of the attributes of that software that you guys see important going forward?
Yep. Yeah, first of all, I would like to just say that from the last 5 to 6 years, what we have seen is the complete architecture is kind of collapsing. It used to be like you have a 2-wire sensors connecting to one more unitary controller, connecting to the plant controller, and going to multiple network level and going up. What we have observed is that the whole architecture is collapsing, and we are seeing more flat architecture getting deployed in the building as we go forward. Are we there yet? No, but that's the kind of future what we are seeing, and already started happening in the building industry. As I said, that flat architecture, what does it mean? It means that now you are making your edge is very smart. Your edge is not going to be just a dumb device which is having some data which is just pushing and broadcasting the messaging and then doing nothing. The edge level intelligence, edge level smartness, and that's where software plays a critical role. How do you make edge smarter? And as you make edge smarter, absolutely edge to cloud become as very critical part of the solution, because that's where you can get the scale, that's where you will be able to get the overall end-to-end solution for customer to start viewing and deploying at the portfolio level. So we see that all the level it is happening, and this is not happening only in the operational part, which I mentioned, the operational part. It's happening in the customer journey life cycle, where you are looking for self-installation, where installation is happening, where 1 click, 2 click, 3 click self-installation, to the self-commissioning, where you are able to kind of get the commissioning done pretty quickly, pre-configured templates and everything getting in the technician's hand. And the self-healing is what the future, what we see coming up, where how the system can understand the problem and having the self-healing. So I think that's the industry, that's the direction which we are seeing, is absolutely Honeywell is moving, and we see the world moving in the same direction.
Yeah, thank you. So that flat architecture talks to the concept as we get off of, like, say, BACnet MSTP, which we consider like a serial network. Traditionally, what we need in that architecture is a gateway, something to take that serial network and turn it into IP. When they talk about a flat architecture, what they're talking about is if everything's already IP, do I need that gateway? Well, not really. If I have the right software running on the network that the IP controllers are connected to, then I can manage those controllers, bring them back to a central database, and share them with the user however needs be, right? And that's what that flat architecture really talks to. Just no more gateways, right? And I'll just skip to Ed. Sorry, Martin, I'll come back to you. But because as we talked about that, we're one of the highest performing gateways of all time in the industry is what? The Niagara J's, right? Tridium J's. And so what does that mean to Ed and the folks at Tridium if we don't need the gateways anymore? And Ed, just could you speak a little bit to how that's changing Tridium's approach to the market?
Well, when we first went in business, we didn't want to be a hardware company. We didn't.
Very true.
We thought for sure, Jerry Frank, our founder, said somebody will give us a router that we can run Niagara in and we'll never have to worry about ports and all that sort of thing. So that didn't work well. And we created the Jace, which has been very successful.
Which was Jerry. That was
Which is
Jerry's
Jerry.
invention.
But you know what? You can't put a router in a boiler room, right?
Right.
Very typically. Or you can't put it in a rooftop unit in Las Vegas in the summer. So the point is, we did hardware because that's what our customers demanded, and we've been quite successful. Now we're starting to see the hardware might go away, and somebody might build better hardware. That's why we're fully engaged in making our software portable. Our Niagara could be in a VAD box. We're seeing containerization now on the Linux side. So we think those technologies, theoretically, they may put us out of the hardware business, but the software business is what's going to drive that.
Yeah.
But I still believe that good conditioned hardware that's meant for the environments they have to be in is still going to be tough for somebody to get into that business. And I think we've done a pretty good job of perfecting that, particularly with, you know, and we keep changing it. We just came out with the new 9000. So we're listening to everybody what they want, but we're also going to enable anybody that wants to go deep to the edge. If they want to run our software, we'll be glad to make it very portable and very operable at the edge.
Yeah, and while most systems today can be IP, believe it or not, and this is from my own personal experience, most of the construction market is still speccing serial and MSTP. And as Bill mentioned, there's such a large installed base of it that those gateways aren't going anywhere soon. Okay, don't worry, the Jaces will be around for quite a while. We're not quite ready there. But let's shift a little bit, and we're going to bring Martin into the conversation. Now, Martin, Distech created the Eclipse line, oh gosh, how long ago?
We released it in 2016.
So, and that was a full line of IP controllers. And Martin, can you just talk about the life cycle of that product line for Distech and how it's evolved over the last, say, 7, 6, 8 years?
Yeah, I can do that. I don't want to make a product pitch, but I do want to tell you how we got the idea of creating that product and why. And we were in Europe, and we were successful into the terminal application that were still using the serial communication LAN primarily there. And the mechanical room or the big equipment room were already equipped in the panel with an IP port. And people means that they expected this big controller with big I/O count to be IP. And when we were proposing our serial communication controller there, BACnet MSTP or LAN, they said, why would we put a serial communication in this big data place? So we were not capturing that part of the market. So in our R&D department, we were debating at that time, back in 2012, 2013, hey, do we move to wireless communication from controller to controller, or do we go to IP? And it was not clear at the time. So basically, in order to follow the innovative European market, we went to IP. And it was quite successful with Eclipse. And when we decided to go down into the terminal application, one condition was to replicate this daisy chain habit that we have in the BMS industry, that we don't have to home run all the terminal application that would cost an IP switch port for every controller. So we were able to make our IP controller daisy chain, and this is where we totally unlocked the market of moving to IP technology and experience the benefit. And I remember we were discussing with our sales team and said, hey, how do you think we should price this thing? And the answer was, hey, no matter the price, nobody's going to switch to IP. We're good with MSTP or LAN. Fast forward 2024, like 75% of our sales are IP only. So I'm glad we haven't listened to our sales team only. Well, most of the time we need to listen to them, as I value them a lot. But sometimes we need it's a little bit the innovator.
I don't see any of them in here. I think. But Martin, those first couple of years of Eclipse, was there ever any like, oh no, did I make a mistake? I mean, in like 2018, when, you know, maybe the sales weren't what you projected to get the money, like, did you go through any of that? Just be honest, did you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There was some of this time. But to your question earlier, is the serial protocol communication on devices can go away and when it's going to go away? You know, giving you our percentage of sales, and we're present in 60 countries, so we're having quite a substantial outreach. I can even believe that if we would phase it out now, we would probably still thrive. We're keeping it up in order to make sure people can easily replace competition product. Sorry, guys. But in order for new technology, I think IP is the way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, thank you, Martin. All right, Ken, let's weigh in on the controllers. From your standpoint, kind of hearing all this and the stuff we've talked about, tell us about what your thoughts are about the controller industry today and where it's come from.
Okay, I'm seeing it moving out even further. I mean, the IP was a major shift in the control, but now we're actually seeing that moving out to IT standards further out in the field. And I think where we had been basically designing IP controls, we now will be providing cloud native kind of thinking controls. That's going to be intermixed with various wireless standards. The whole cost of what's happening there, I think we might see some push from the telecommunication industry. We're starting to see things like SIM cards in the sensor devices starting to become, somebody told me like $1 a sensor. We're starting to see technologies like air tags and tiles, and we kind of see that maybe the telecommunication industry might end up in what we call the messy middle. Typically, everybody on this panel up here basically deals with buildings over 50,000 square feet or something like that. But all of those buildings in between 20,000 smaller buildings, and it kind of, I think it kind of opens up to a market that could be serviced by the telcos. If you kind of think of, they've got the security business, they've got health, why wouldn't buildings? And it would not go to sophisticated buildings. I'm thinking of a bunch of warehouses with a bunch of smart staffs, and that'll be a combination of cell and stuff. I think that'll ripple back and change, potentially change the protocols and kind of move us quicker. The other people that are pushing this, I think Glenn was in one of our sessions, and he talks, Glenn Almond here from Harvard Research, and he talks a lot about the OEM market. And so what's happening is the OEM market, they want more sensors, and they also want to have these products validate their warranties, and they also want these products to be able to be tracked from when they leave the factory. Let's take, for example, a big chiller. We want to know that it didn't sit out on the job site and get frozen, and so we want to have continuous communication with it. So the idea of leaving a cell phone in it so we can actually talk to it all the way through its life cycle is important. So I think what you'll see as we start to move into cloud native thinking, we'll see a lot of the controllers move out to become an integral part. And that's really not much different than what happened in the direct digital control. Remember back in those days, they were using hardwired controls in basically most of their products. And then eventually it became cheaper to put in a DDC system. And then of course we had a BACnet standard or a Niagara standard. Then it fitted in pretty well. But I think you'll start to see it move in with more and more IT standards and cloud native thinking.
Yeah, and thanks for that prelude to the next part of our conversation, which is the cloud. So as Ken mentioned, a lot of the innovation that he's seeing coming our way is about connecting the building or the control system to the cloud, right? And the methodologies, the cybersecurity, a lot of those things are becoming a major concern for our industry. And so, and with the advent of using cloud technology for pretty much everything in our business, the manufacturers that serve us are going through a seismic shift in their strategies in terms of how they're looking at the future of services for the BAS industry, okay? Because that's essentially what's happening is as the cloud becomes a part of our architecture, it opens up this whole world of new capabilities for what we can do in a building, whether it be artificial intelligence, whether it be just sharing data better with the right people on the right devices. But for these guys, they have a lot of big choices to make in the next couple of years about cloud technology, cloud native. So I'm going to kick it all the way down to Ed to start on this one. So Tridium, Ed, and the cloud. How you guys doing with the cloud?
We're there to support it, right? I mean, we used to always talk about drivers like BACnet and Modbus and all that. That was, now we have to push the data out to be cloud friendly. So it's MQTT or it's, we've got multiple technologies that we actually are showing over at the booth as far as, sending out data so third parties can consume the data, right? We already work very closely with a lot of our partners to format the data right. People like AWS and Microsoft, they all want a little different format. So we want to be just ubiquitous on the northbound side going to the cloud as we are and manage that. But at the same time, system integration services that system integrators want to use to connect to these devices in the field, whether it's making them cyber secure, making them remotely available, not have to use necessarily VPN, so we can use outbound connections that minimize issues. So we're all in, and we don't have to be the cloud provider. We might have 5 cloud providers hitting the chase to get data out. That's kind of nirvana for us.
Yeah, for sure. And that as somebody, Tridium's been essentially on the cloud from the start. Could you speak to like the integration at that level and some of the things that you guys are seeing to integrate into services outside of the traditional building controls and at the cloud level?
Yeah, I think the difference is like MQTT, for an example, is, that's something that's not you don't learn that in, going to school, trade school. You're lucky to learn BACnet. Now you have to learn MQTT and packets and that sort of thing. So it's a new paradigm and new people or new training that we have to deal with. We're trying to make that a little bit easier so that people can format those messages. So you never know what's MQTT, basically. That's the kind of things we're looking at. How can we make it easier to be able to do that? We're also trying to get the data to the cloud easy. Okay, and that means sending data to a cloud that we might sponsor or somebody else sponsors. That's not only the history data, but it's also the hierarchy and the tagging. Because what we're missing now is the data's not good, right? It's sloppy data that's in the boiler room today, and a lot of cloud companies have issues going to a job site and figuring out what's there. So those are the things we're going to focus on today because we think they're near term really important. But we've always kind of been on the leading edge of supporting whatever technology is out there, and we feel very comfortable that we'll be able to do it and do it securely. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you see involving your own standards, or do you see accepting IT standards?
We've been dealing with IT standards since the very day we started. As soon as we started with an Ethernet connection, right? We were the first company to probably come out there with an Ethernet connection and a browser. So I think we've had to deal with that. We work with IT departments very closely. We've probably had more conversations with IT departments than most people have had, and they're the ones leading us away. The big enterprise companies are telling us where we need to go to meet their IT needs. So we're not afraid of that at all. In fact, we relish it because it saves us a lot of time and heartbreak by creating something maybe their IT departments never going to accept.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a great question.
How about the wireless? What do you see? How?
It's a driver to us, right? We see it coming, frankly. I've started in this business a long time ago, and I've seen a lot of wireless come and go over the years. I finally start seeing some things like, mesh, Wi-Fi, and LoRaWAN, which we're starting to see in Europe. And you folks have been doing some of the Enotion stuff early on. I think there's some things that have been proven, but we've all been hit with the bad stuff. Where we want proven technologies, and I think wireless is coming closer. but there's still a lot of issues. You're not going to see it on a military base, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think everybody wants it to go there, but how can we not keep a file cabinet behind the sensor from keeping you from getting a signal? That's still the thing that we need to make sure we solve those, and I think the industry is getting it very close.
Yeah, for sure. So shifting over to Martin. Martin, we had a session on cloud native earlier, and we learned quite a bit about it. And then in other sessions, cloud native kept coming up. And cloud native, for those of you who haven't heard the concept, it's really from the IT community. And it really speaks to a methodology for creating a service by starting essentially with a web server and then kind of working your way backwards. And cloud native essentially, a cloud doesn't have to sit in a data center on the internet. It can be in a controller. It can be in a sensor, okay? Anything that is digital can end up being cloud native. And with that thought in mind, Martin, can you speak to how, like, you guys see that, you know, on-prem, that cloud native approach in terms of some of the features that you're adding to your newer products? And how does that cloud native come into your, you know, in the decisions and what you're doing with those products? Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, again, probably from a story perspective, in the past, people wanted to communicate with an open protocol because they wanted to have access to the data on the device itself. So when we moved to IP, so people were asking the same question, hey, how do I communicate with your device through BACnet IP, REST API, but still at the device level on site? And now, recently, the question from probably younger generation programmer is that they wanted to have our API. So we say, hey, here's our API for BACnet IP, REST API. And they said, what? No, I want your cloud API. I don't want to communicate with your hardware on site. I want to have cloud-to-cloud communication. You as the manufacturer, you take care of how you communicate between your cloud and your hardware on site, but I just want to have cloud-to-cloud communication. I'm a programmer. I don't want to deal with your things on site. So we said, huh, interesting. So we developed a digital twin, and we developed like a mirror. So the digital twin is overused as a term, but just picture a mirror of your hardware devices on site. You make a mirror of that in the cloud. And whatever communication or ask or point exchange you do only with the cloud. And then you as a manufacturer, because you know so much this, and you know the piping required there, then you're taking care of this communication. So this is what we like to call cloud native. So this is what we've done for a number of years now. But now what customers are asking is even more. Is there going to be an aggregator of all those cloud connectivities? Because there's so much product now that you can buy on the market that comes with their cloud, that being an integrator now, is it integrating cloud to cloud? It used to be integrating physical devices that speak the same language on site, but now it's more and more integrating all those cloud communication.
Awesome. Yeah, very true, very true. Manish, could you add to the conversation from your standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we have seen in the journey is we started focusing on more outcomes. I think our focus was, okay, what customers are really looking forward. So the outcome is like you are looking for sustainability, operational efficiency, safety, security. And we saw that, okay, those are the outcomes, which is what customers are really focusing on. Now, how we can help our customer to achieve those outcomes. And cloud solution becomes a means to get that journey up. The biggest problem what we have seen to achieve those outcomes is when you go to the existing install base, which is the largest business I'm sure all of us do with our customer, the data, getting the data and getting the data into the right form and the right format and putting that the right data and pushing that into the cloud and converting them into the model which can be utilized for you to consume and come out with the key insights and use those insights to run AI and ML kind of algorithm and the machine learning technology to get you the outcome. That's exactly what we are working on, to see that focus on the outcome And then to achieve that, you definitely need that pipe and connectivity, and we call that contextualization, data contextualization, and data model, where you build that modeling and helps you to achieve those outcomes. However, I just want to add another point here. I think we are still, I believe that our solutions are going to be more hybrid model. We are not ready to say that 100% everything is going to go to the cloud and we are done with that. We will see that the mix of on-prem and cloud solution where customers are looking forward, it depends on verticals. It's very interesting, when we are the few of the customers which we are talking of data center customer, those who are providing the cloud to rest of the world, they do not want to go to the cloud. And that's the reality. I mean, you please talk to them. And they, the reason is it's a critical infrastructure. If something goes wrong, their whole world will be shut down. It's a very, very critical. So we see that it's a mix of both. The on-prem and cloud, the mix is what we are seeing in the future going to be. Probably this journey will run for few more years before we move 100% say that everything becomes in the cloud. So that's what I think we are in the journey of focusing on outcome by means to do that is cloud and hybrid solution.
Yeah, very true. And Bill, on to you. So Bill, I know we've talked before, and I know you've kind of rethought like all the services at Johnson and how a building should operate in terms of the cloud. Could you speak a little bit to that side of it from your perspective?
Yeah, it's interesting. We talk about the enablement, cloud enablement, data. There are 1,900 exhibitors out on the floor, right? So there's a lot of equipment, a lot of things to install, or build, install, maintain, service, etc. And our service people, our operators, they're hungry for that information. Even things as simple, so we're going through the A2L transformation in the US. And how do you know that this sensor or this controller or this is A2L compatible when you're out in one of those 1,900 pieces of equipment or suppliers out there? And some of that simplicity. So you may need a digital lookup because maybe there's not a certification on that certain component or that certain part. So that becomes an enabler. The more digitized that is, the simpler it is, the more seamless it is. We all, experience these services in our consumer world. When you come into the commercial realm, you come into the buildings realm, it's a lot more complicated. And what we find a lot, and we're in a lot of markets where we have these very complicated systems that none of the features ever get used because it gets installed, it works great. A year or two later, the people that installed it are long gone, and the people don't understand how to use it. So a lot of what we're spending our time on, the software and digitization, that digital transformation, is being able to harness those capabilities in the systems and equipment that we're placing into the field.
Yeah, so that means your chiller will come with a cloud connection in the future, right, Bill? Currently, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you buy your car, you realize it's connected to the internet. Well, so is your chiller, right? And Johnson Controls is, and as Bill mentioned, like in the equipment space, there's just, there's so many different pieces of equipment that we have to reconsider in terms of a cloud connected piece of equipment, and what does that mean? And Bill, how is that kind of changing the dynamic with the equipment side of Johnson's business and having it all be cloud connected?
Yeah, so you look at a chiller, right? Big piece of infrastructure. You could envision how you could do a more traditional cellular, even an IoT cellular type connection. But then you look at a refrigerator unit and how many refrigerator units you may have, and am I going to network those together through a gateway like a Jace, or how am I going to get that information? If I'm running A2L, I've got to be able to know if there's a leak. And that means I need to communicate that to somebody that's probably not in the building. And I can't spend $1,000 to do that. So now I have to create connectivity that's very simple but very reliable because I can't miss that leak. So that's forcing us to rethink that connectivity model and that cloud enablement at kind of two ends of the spectrum. A building, an iconic building like McCormick Place, or a piece of equipment like a chiller, all the way down to a refrigeration unit where there could be one in the corner in this room. So that's really driving a lot of transformation in the way we think about these solutions in buildings.
cool, thank you. Ken, anything to add on the cloud conversation, buddy?
I don't think so, but it's, maybe this point is the amount of stuff that is coming with protocols that we've never even seen before, and function, I think. Like space management, people tracking, basically even, this is what the radar standard LiDAR, thank you. LiDAR and stuff like that are starting to be built into products. Products are just keep getting smarter and smarter, and they do more and more things and more points. Remember when in the old days we used to count points? Can you imagine if we start counting how many points in the cloud? It'll be crazy.
Oh, unfortunately, Ken, we do have to count points in the cloud for a lot of software companies, correct? Anybody know any? I do. Anyway. But cool. All right, thanks, Ken. All right, so, we could get into cybersecurity, but I'm watching my clock, and I feel like we're going to miss some better conversations. I'll just throw it to the panel as a whole. Does anybody want to speak to the current cybersecurity situation for BAS?
If I can say
Go ahead, Merwin.
If they can say a word, I think before we were doing security by obscurity, so nobody knew outside of our DMS industry what was Longworks and BACnet and STP, so we were protected, but in fact we were not. Anybody could have come in, stick into the network and do things that we would not like them to do. Now with the move to IP, now we have a lot of advantage from a communication and data and size of the pipe. However, it's coming with a price to pay, which is it's more exposed to cybersecurity threat. So it needs to be secured, and who says secured now might not be secured in 2 years from now. So it says as well that needs to constantly be updated and updatable. So to me, there's two strengths that are, two forces that are playing at the same time, is the rise of IP technology in our market, and the fact that this is needed constantly to update, which a solution for that is also cloud. So when a building is cloud connected, so you can always constantly push updates to the BMS devices, making sure that they're security updated. So it's kind of interesting, the two forces that are playing at the same time. The rise of cloud connected things and enabled in the market, and IP technology are actually playing together.
Yeah, great point. Any other comments about cybersecurity in the BAS industry?
Yeah, I think, let me kind of say that when we interact with the customers now, the three big personas whom we talk to a lot, I will say one, and the rest of the two I think I would like you all to kind of guess a little bit. The first one, definitely facility manager, facility director, facility leader. No way that's going away. What are the other two, the building personas whom we have to interact a lot? Anybody? IT, somebody said IT? Absolutely, you're right. So IT is the second one. And the third one? CSOs, Chief Cyber Security Officer. I can tell you that anywhere when we are working with that, any deals or any proposal what we are making, the biggest hurdle right now is to cross this IT management and Chief Cyber Security. And this is not one time. This is the constant. Cyber security is a constant window. It is never done. Today what is secure, it is not secure tonight or it is not secure tomorrow. And that's how the cyber security moves so fast in the world. And it requires the constant connection, constant movement in the window. So these are the two personas where we have the maximum deal, especially where we are talking about the cloud, especially when we are talking about the wireless solution, especially when we are talking about the mobile app to be connected, or the devices which has the IP/ the SIM card, or it is the cellular network connecting to the cloud. I think those are becoming the standard architecture now. You want to have a lick and stick sensors. You want to have a connectivity, native connectivity to the cloud. All of that, so cybersecurity becomes a very, very critical. What we do, I think there is we have done recently one acquisition, SCADA Fence and some of the cyber side, extremely deeper focus which we are driving now, which is start with the cyber insights where you go and get the insights. And then you broadcast the network to the devices because OT and IT, these two, still in the building running on the different network. It is kind of a merger happening, we say, but it's still in a long way. And then OT devices, the policies, the standard, the cyber are not as latest and the greatest what we have seen in the IT devices and the policies. Your network, your computer in the office will have always latest patches and everything. BMS controller sitting in the basement, sitting in the mechanical room will not have the latest patches, though it has the IT connectivity. And that's the shift that we want to bring in with our device, say that we got to manage these stepchild also like a real child and say that how you can make them as equal, because vulnerability is much higher in the OT devices compared to the IT devices. And that's the cybersecurity which moving forward now.
Yeah, very true, very true. So, okay, Bill, you knew I was going to say this, but so Bill, you know, Johnson Controls, you guys are like the largest controls contractor in the world, pretty much. Could you speak to what the market threat level is in terms of like what you guys are seeing in your installed base and your customer base, and even at Johnson Controls from a, just what does that cybersecurity universe look like at your level?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, cybersecurity, as everybody knows, it's the threat levels are constant and the threat levels are high, right? So we make sure that when we connect equipment that it's air gap, zero trust. We do go that extra level, especially for critical infrastructure, critical pieces of equipment. So we're usually applying a much higher standard than what IT is looking for because of the nature of the equipment, the nature of the facilities that we're managing. So it's a significant issue, and we've made, you know, much like some others, we've made some significant investments in technology that facilitates for example, the zero trust, the airwall technology, etc.
Yeah. Okay, Ed, we unlocked the cybersecurity thing. So I gotta bring you into the conversation. Of course, Niagara, which is targeted, I would say, as much as any software on the market today from a cybersecurity standpoint. So what are you guys? I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but
It's now, we do it, every rev that comes out, it's always going to be updated security files. And I think Martin brought up a good point. Now that the cloud connectivity is there, we're working vigorously on automated updates. We don't rely on the SI to have to go out there, connect, or even do it remotely. It's going to be automated just like your iPhone can do. And that's where we have to go because people aren't doing the proper procedures to update their cybersecurity. I was just at one of the largest buildings in the world, and a 35-year-old system that is very cyber unsecure, that is in the process of being, you know, adjusted to be cyber secure and that sort of thing. So it's in our lifeblood. Everything we do you know, throughout the Honeywell CO demand more certifications and processes. I think we've been pretty good at it. It is the industry level, but we don't even send a patch out anymore that hasn't been through rigorous security testing. So we know, because we send products to everybody here at the table, they have to be secure when we send them out, because we're putting our customers and our customers' customers at risk. So we take it super serious, and we always will.
yeah, one other quick story that came from this was we had an end user on our cybersecurity panel, and he manages a portfolio of 160 buildings. They were all connected on a wide area network together, completely secured through multiple methods, but they left unmanaged switches in their control cabinets. And a contractor, whom was not even in the BAS industry, decided to plug into it, and they were compromised. So, you know, they spent all the money on all the cybersecurity and everything else, and then they forgot to put managed switches into their control cabinets, which meant that the ports on the switch, you just plug into it, you're on the network, right? So cybersecurity rolls all the way down into physical security in the buildings. And then he went on to tell us that they've made a bunch of changes, and he talked about it, but then he went on to tell us that they manage the ports that come into their network now for the BAS system, and they're averaging, you know, a couple hundred attempted hacks a day. A couple hundred attacks a day, right? AI isn't just helping us improve like productivity, it's also helping the hackers hack the crap out of us. So I'm just telling you all, 85% of businesses in America this year were affected by a cyber attack. 85%. So for those of you controls contractors out here or manufacturers, it's a huge problem. We just don't hear about it enough yet, but you will. So, okay, we're out of time, but we can run a little over because there's not another session after this. So I'm going to bring up the AI because it was a very interesting topic for everybody the last couple of days. So I'd like to, again, I'll start down, well, actually, let's start in the middle this time. And let's start with Martin. Martin, could you just give us your views? What are you thinking about this thing, this AI stuff?
Yeah. Remember in 2018 at the partner conference of Distech in Miami, we put that on the slide that, hey, future technology, AI, and everybody were, yeah. So, so everybody thought it was something, a far dream, and at the time we didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know, and we decided to say, hey, it's gonna probably play an integral role in the market, so we developed a supercontroller with an AI chip on it, and also the reason why we developed Docker container approach in order to give our customer the flexibility to use AI when it's going to come on the market. We released that product in 2021, just before the wave of ChatGPT and things like that. So again, people did not really understood why we did it. Sometimes we did not understand it ourselves. So, but at least we gave capacity to our channel of 900 SI around the world to do something with AI should they want it. And that was our first dabbling with AI. And moreover now, recently, now we're releasing product with specific application. We partner with a university chair in Montreal in order to do this, the people counting application. So it's super tough to have a thermal sensor to count the people. So we needed to train that thermal sensor against a camera in order, the camera is telling us exactly the number of people, but we need to train the model. So this was one application of AI, and we're coming with many other applications of AI to save time to the community, like fine-tuning a PID loop. Who really took the time to fine-tune a PID loop other than having the manufacturer standard parameters for the PID? So this is going to be a great application for that. And there's so much more, but I don't want to consume the time from
Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah, those are great I mean, I didn't even think about the fact that they're using it to productize different applications through AI. It's incredible. So, Bill, I'll bounce it to you. Some thoughts on AI?
Sure. I mean, it's one of those things. You know, as you get the data, and of course we do have ChatGPT, which is being used a lot in the way we introduce products, the way we support our products, etc. Certainly in optimization in ways that you'd never think were possible, all of a sudden become very possible, and very tried and true applications get built. You know, we've offered security solutions. Occupancy, we've just invested pretty heavily in understanding occupancy of buildings, and then the interplay of occupancy and the way we manage the building efficiency, that optimization. Of course, for us, it started with central plant optimization, again, that big equipment, but it's working its way through, and I talked about the air side and water side, sort of the optimization. If you look at some buildings, even in the heat of summer, you're running as much heat reheat through your building as you are in the winter. So obviously we need to optimize those things, and those are some of the AI algorithms that we've been working on.
Very cool. Manish, something to add?
Yep. In my view, AI is a journey, and the journey starts with your having the right data and the baselining. Because if you don't know where you are, what exactly data you have, what baselining, so data becomes the king, data becomes the key for having the AI journey to start with. And with that start journey, you reach to the kind of a level where automation and optimization level, once you start having the right data sets and right input. One of the applications which we have is energy optimization, which includes the multiple data sets which require your occupancy information, which require your APIs to be connected with weather data, which require for your utility connectivity to understand that what the utility consumptions are happening, and then how you are getting the energy data. And then you have those automation and prediction model to understand that what could be your future consumption and what could be optimized in a building where you have the multiple input coming. So that's energy optimization. Going forward, I believe we have, all of us heard of generative AI, Gen AI, right? I mean, we know that. Whatever I talked about, most of them are structured data. What is structured data? Where you can have zeros or one, you can count, you can have that, the real number, temperature, humidity. But as you combine structured and unstructured data is going to the future of AI, which means a user manual of a technician when they are going for a service manual of a technician, how that can be having the generative AI, he doesn't have to go through like a page number 98 to go through that this specific thing. That can be automated, that can be, AI can help to get those information. So it can be more of an assist model. And then the next is advise model. The advise model is, you go from assist to the advise, where you can say that, okay, maybe there is an issue in this floor, this area, rather than you're going through the whole set of database and then do that. And finally, autonomous is what the future is going to be. We heard autonomous car, we heard there's all the autonomous vehicle, autonomous aircraft. I think we will see in our life probably autonomous building which is operated absolutely without any intervention. So that's going to the future of AI.
Yeah, Manish, very, very true. And Ed, could you kind of jump on top of what Manish was saying about, especially about organization of data and how important that is as we move into AI?
We've got to get the right data to the people at the right time and get accessibility to it. Just like what Martin said, integrators are going to be cloud-to-cloud integrators are going to become very important because you're going to have multiple integrators. You're going to have 10, different cloud sites that have to be knitted together. But we're going to start at the bottom, our new JH9000, where they have the neural processing unit that we added because we didn't not quite sure what we were going to do with it. But like Martin did, you planned for it. You said something's going to work well. I think the key thing for everybody to understand is that there's been too many buzzwords on AI, not people necessarily in this room, but the industry itself thinks it's magic. Practical, like PID loops, I'm old school. Wouldn't it be great to have, what a great application for, AI is to automatically really tune the loop. That's kind of, we've never really gotten there. I think it's beautiful to be able to do that. I think it's also the technician and tech support, just our people in tech support in Richmond, for them to be able to use AI to help a customer quickly do something or for the customer to do that. So I think it's just, what are the real practical uses first so it doesn't become like digital twins. Everybody had a different idea in the industry for the last 5 years what a digital twin is. I think we have to define what are the AI things we're going to do, which ones are what are the practical expectations, or people are going to say, no, I don't want any of that in my building. And then, of course, it's got to be cyber secure, and I think we all know that. But I really worry with AI, there's going to be so many, right now ChatGPT, most of our corporations probably don't allow us to use it on our own network, right? We have to use our private ones to do that. Our engineers are going home and doing it. But there's this ability, I'm worried about the cyber aspect of AI, so I think we're all being very careful how we use it. But let's keep it practical first and come up with a solution that's going to save somebody time and money, and then not because it's the shiny penny.
I think that's great advice, Ed. After 49 years, I think we should listen to him. Just saying. Just saying. So Ken, please, close it out.
Well, the thing I see is that all of our controllers were not designed for AI. And I think we're starting to see the evolution of new controllers. It is interesting, the Raspberry Pis, the Beagle boards, and all that kind of stuff. I know sometimes we snicker at them, but they are the prototyping tools. And we're starting to see them coming with AI accelerators and stuff, stuff that is necessary. And I think that'll fuel a AI philosophy where we're going to see it move out closer and closer to the edge. And probably that'll happen for quickness. And as those processes get cheaper, we're going to see what I'm terming the cloud-native AI controller. And I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see that evolve. In fact, I think you probably already have seen it. And the most logical place for it to appear is in an OEM product. And because it can reach out and things. When somebody walks near the product, it knows there's somebody near the product, and it can start having smart reactions. So I think that's where that might be going.
Yeah. You guys, this was awesome. I just want to thank my panel so much. You guys